While I was away, there's a very important story in the New York Times about how Robert Mueller's team is investigating Donald Trump. So everybody made a big deal about that, as they should. It's a huge issue that the special counsel is not just targeting people related to Trump or his campaign, but Trump himself. But the very last paragraph of that article, I think, was by far the most interesting part. And there just wasn't that much focus on it, so I wanted to make sure that you guys saw it and you realize how important it is. Because I think that in some ways they were burying the lead. So here is the last paragraph. They said a former senior official said Mr. Mueller's investigation was looking at money laundering by Trump associates. So that came out exactly a week ago. Money laundering. That's not a light charge. That's money laundering against the President of the United States of America. That's what the special counsel is looking into now. We're just brushed past it like, oh yeah, they're looking at money laundering for the president. Anyway, what? Okay, now I'm not surprised by it because I told you. Didn't I tell you that? I should have the told you sign next to me, right? Which is, I said it's financial because that's all Trump cares about. And he's been doing money laundering for the Russians. It's out in the open. He buys a house in Florida for $40 million, sells it to them just a little bit later for $100 million. That house didn't go up by 60% in a short period of time. That is a very common practice on how you launder money. You take money, you take cash out of the country that you're in by doing things like that. So if you haven't heard of that practice, that's okay. That means you're not a money launderer, okay? But it's very standard practice in money laundering circles. Donald Trump and the Russian oligarchs had their money in the same part of Deutsche Bank. You know what it was referred to? It was referred to as the global laundromat. Okay, now Deutsche Bank didn't call it the global laundromat, they're the ones who run it. Investigators call it the global laundromat, okay? So yes, it's about Trump, yes, it's about money laundering, a very, very significant crime. And then the rest of the paragraph. The suspicion is that any cooperation with Russian officials would most likely have been in exchange for some kind of financial payoff, and that there would have been an effort to hide the payments, probably by routing them through offshore banking centers. Let me reemphasize that. Financial payoff. Financial payoff. What did I tell you? I said this months ago. It's Donald Trump doing a deal with the Russians. It isn't on the edges like, oh, you kind of helped me win the election by leaking some emails, and then I'll see if I look out for you. Nah, that's not gonna get anybody in big trouble. I mean, that's what maybe the Democrats thought in the beginning. That's not that big a deal. No, Donald Trump, A, all he cares about is money, okay? B, the Russians are the only ones who would lend him any money. C, Donald Trump has never not bankrupted himself. So here's probably how it turned out. And I said this, I don't know if it was 6 months ago, but long time ago, as soon as all this came about, right? Donald Trump can't borrow any money from anyone else. He has to borrow from the Russians. Now that's been confirmed by his sons. When asked by a golf magazine, how did you guys get money for these golf courses? No American bank will lend you money. They said, oh, we went to the Russians. Told you, told you. And what does Donald Trump do? He's an idiot. He runs everything into the ground. He probably owes the Russians a lot of money. I don't know if you know this, owing the Russians a lot of money is a bit of a dangerous game. Now, there is something you could do. You could become president. Oh my God, how did the Democrats let this guy win? Anyway, you could become president, and then you lift the sanctions on a $500 billion deal they had with ExxonMobil, and voila, you paid off your debts. They're more than happy. The revenue on that deal is expected to be $9 trillion. Maybe we let Donald slide on the loans that he owes us. Now, again, I'm not the one, I was saying financial payoffs. Now it's special counsel saying financial payoffs. Now it's special counsel investigating Trump saying money laundering. So, you know, you got to prove it. You got to be meticulous. Oh, one last thing. Here's so brazen because Trump is not smart enough to be sophisticated and subtle about it. So the deal is with ExxonMobil, the CEO of ExxonMobil, now the Secretary of State. They ran a lot of these deals through a second bank, the Bank of Cyprus. Now you want to guess who the head of the Bank of Cyprus was? Wilbur Ross, Secretary of Commerce. Not subtle. Trump also not smart enough to cover it up. They'll find the paperwork. Pence, Get them warmed up in the bullpen.
You just watched the video from the Young Turks. Did you know that there's a live 2-hour show every day, and that if you're a member of the Young Turks, you can get that on demand anytime you want without ads? Plus the post game just for members, plus Aggressive Progressives, plus Old School, plus so many other network shows. Go right now, tytnetwork.com/join.